Okay, welcome back to members of 121 Community Church in Grapevine, Texas, and our ongoing study in Paul and the Faithfulness of God by N.T. Wright. We've been looking at part 3, and part 3 of the volume is divided into 3 parts. The monotheism, election, and eschatology. We are just finishing part 3-B, the section on reworking the concept of election for Paul. We're going to look at the aspect of participation in this lesson. It will run from pages 1000 to 1043, so it's the final 43 pages of 3b. So it's an important section because election included the moments of the juristic, the eschatological, the transformative, and now the participation. So we're looking at that final moment of election, the moment of participation. We'll begin with the triad on the left. We'll look at block 1. What does it mean to live unto God within that movement unto righteousness, that movement of epitelio? And we go to Galatians 2:19, where we get that concept of living unto God. It's the area of participation for the believer within the ongoing process of election. And we notice in 2:20 that participation means taking up our cross in a life of agape self-giving as our mediation of participation. We end up saying that it's not I no longer live, it is Christ who lives in me. I live within the faithfulness of the Son, and I take up his cross. The Son gave himself up for me because he loves me with agape self-giving love, and I will take up his cross of agape self-giving love as my participation. And so if we look at Romans 7:6 there in note 3, we serve in the Spirit as the transformative direction of our participation. It's called serving in the Spirit. And so if we look at our moments, we have our participation as living unto God, and then we enter into a co-crucifixion and trusting Christ's faithfulness in order to become those who serve in the Spirit. So that's our first 3 moments of what it means to live unto God. Take up the cross, serve in the Spirit. So let's take a look at block 2. What is the concrete meaning of serving in the Spirit? What's the concrete meaning of becoming a servant of God through Christ? And we know that our participation takes place within the 3 dimensions of Paul's soteriology: the juristic, the eschatological, and the transformative. And is founded on the fundamental concept of Paul's understanding of covenant theology and the benefit enabling of the Spirit that we receive in our covenant theology relationship to God through Christ. We are the newly elect, and we receive the benefits of adoption, which include glory, covenant, new law, and enabled worship. And it's defined by Paul as a new life of continual, ongoing prayer. It's a life of prayerful worship of God through Christ. All within that movement of righteousness, which is the movement of Spirit, that epitelio movement under righteousness. So the concrete look of this life of serving in Christ, of serving in the Spirit, is about having a prayerful life, a life in communion with Christ, with His Word, and with the truth in His Word, and with the power, the enabling power of the Spirit. It's living that prayerful life of service in the Spirit. So if you look at note 3, the dimensions and the enabling equal the outworkings, and there are three outworkings of this concrete serving in the Spirit. Number one, there's the juristic enabling. We're enabled to love God from the heart. We're enabled by the indwelling Spirit. We are enabled with a new mind of life and peace. Second, there's eschatological enduring. So we are enabled, and then we take up the cross and we live the life of eschatological enduring, which is a theme of New Exodus. We are taken up into Abraham's promise. We participate in the Messiah's movement unto righteousness because Christ is the true Israelite. Third, there's the moment of transformative new being. So we're enabled, we endure through the cross, and we are transformed into new life, the new self. We embody God's self-revelation in Christ. We enter into that war between the law of sin and the spirit of the new mind, and we are transformed from creation into new creation, or from old self into new self. That takes us on to block 3. We're going to take a look at this actualized new covenant people. What does it mean to be the concrete new covenant people who reflect Jesus Christ to the nations? And there are 3 moments. Number 1, there's that juristic enabling in the Spirit. There's no condemnation to those in the Messiah. The law of sin is condemned in Christ on the cross, and we therefore are taken up into a life according to Spirit. We are enabled by the new mind for an enduring eschatology. The law of sin wars against us, but we affirm the inward new man, the inward new self. And we are enabled with this new spiritual mindedness to serve God. And that becomes our transformation in the Spirit. It is Christ's covenant faithfulness that ensures our powerful life in the Spirit. We are transformed by the indwelling Spirit. Therefore, we become the covenant people by juristic enabling of no condemnation, a new mind for eschatological enduring, and transformation for new being through indwelling Spirit. So we get a very concrete look here from Paul and from Professor Wright on what it means to be the concrete new elect people of God who reflect Jesus Christ to the nations. But it all takes place within a epitelio movement unto righteousness. So let's take a look at what does it mean to achieve actual righteousness in a world that rarely reflects righteousness. Usually it's ethically turned upside down. How do we reflect this actual righteousness? And take a look at the right 2 columns. We're going to take a look at transformation through the new concepts for agape self-giving. And we're told that Paul had 4 sub-concepts abbreviated under his understanding of agape self-giving. First, there is Romans 8:37, where Paul says that we are more than conquerors through Christ when we take up agape self-giving. We actually overcome the world of sin and negation through agape self-giving, through this attitude of serving in the Spirit. Next, there's Romans 8:35. We are sealed against ever being separated from Christ through our entrance into this participation in this self-giving love. And in Romans 3:22, it is the pisteos Christou. We've seen this so many times, but it's the faithfulness of Christ which becomes a concrete expression of his agape self-giving. Because of his faithfulness, we can live a life of agape self-giving. Because of the Messiah's faithfulness on our behalf, his ongoing intercession, we can live in this new dimension of serving in Spirit. And so we have 4 new sub-concepts. Now we're going to take a look at the right column there, transformation through new signs. for this reckoned righteousness and this imputed righteousness of legizimi. And so there are the abbreviated signs of first, the juristic reckoning through the klesis call of Christ. And that abbreviates 3 subconcepts. We are called according to God's purpose of salvation. We are called to be the called out ones of the church. We are called to be the called of Christ. So klesis call is the first moment of a new sign in this participation. Second, there's the work of the Spirit, and it abbreviates 3 subconcepts. Holiness is the work of the Spirit to bring us unto holiness for those who confess and appeal to Christ and worship Him. And it's according to the promise in Abraham and the promise fulfilled in Christ. We belong to the single family of covenant with God through Christ. Third, there is the faithfulness of Christ, and it abbreviates righteousness. The faithfulness of Christ secures our righteousness, that epitelio movement unto righteousness. And it leads to our obtaining of the full doxa glory, and it is juristic reckoning through the Spirit, and it is our being in the Messiah. It is incorporative that constitutes our righteousness. And then if you look at this primary category of in the Messiah and its moments, there's juristic grace. This is the work of the Spirit through the gospel, which calls and creates faith. It is also a summoning unto eschatological obedience. We are juristically reckoned unto living unto God, serving in spirit. And that is the second moment, eschatological inheritance, or the movement of spirit unto righteousness, epitelio. It's empowered by the indwelling of the Spirit within our hearts and our minds, and it includes our participation of taking up our new walk in the Spirit. That leads to transformation or new being. As the ongoing walking in transformation is an ongoing process. It is the ongoing movement of Spirit. It is the ongoing faithfulness of Christ. It is the ongoing participation on our part of faithful obedience. So there's the juristic grace, there's the eschatological inheritance, and there's the movement unto transformative new being. A lot of content here, but it's a very concrete look at that fourth moment of participation in Paul's new understanding of election. So it is very important that we realize that we are living unto God, and that we are concretely making that evident as we serve in the Spirit. And that means we are actualizing our visibility as the new covenant people of God through Christ. That means we have taken up those concepts of being more than conquerors through agape self-giving, of being sealed in the Spirit of Christ, and of being taken up into the faithfulness of Christ. Not just in Christ, but the faithfulness of Christ. And thereby actually living within the foundational category of loving one another as I have loved you, which is agape. It is agape self-giving. And that takes us to the final truth of this lesson, that we live in the Messiah. If we live in the Messiah, we are reckoned as righteous because it's juristic in the cross, it's eschatological in the resurrection, it is transformative in the Spirit. We've had a lot of content and a lot of powerful teaching from Professor Wright, but now we have examined all the parts of 3-B and the new understanding of election by Paul, that it is juristic, eschatological, transformative, and participatory. That's going to wrap up this lesson. We will have a recall triad with our 4 focal points.